hope we're all having a wonderful Monday afternoon, or as wonderful as a Monday afternoon can be. I wonder how yours went. I was told I almost killed somebody. I won't give you any context for that. I'll just let you know that pay attention while you're driving, because apparently some angry mom from Cambridge will call your place of work, your place of business, while you're on a catering order, and bitch and moan and whine because I accidentally cut you off or something. And apparently I almost killed her, but gave no details as to where she was or what the traffic laws in the area were. So leaving out details to accuse me of attempted murder is a bit extreme. So that's not what this podcast is about at all. I hope everyone is having a wonderful week. This is my last week of work before I go to Philadelphia for a few days, and I'm really excited about it because I've never been. And I'm very excited to explore a different city, especially one that has such like a punky background. I'm very excited, so I'm going with one of my best friends from work. And it's lit as fuck. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by my sponsors. I don't have any sponsors. I have patrons, and you know who they are by now, but I'll read them at the end of this episode. I wanted to talk about one specific thing this episode, and I don't know where the fuck this is gonna go, considering I have no plans for this podcast besides the subject. Which, by the way, is Euphoria. Which, like, duh. Euphoria ended last week. It is an HBO show. It didn't end. The season ended. They got renewed, which I'm so excited about. It's an HBO show for young adults, starring Zendaya. And it's fantastic. Now, to give you a brief plot, if you have no idea, which doesn't make any sense if you don't have any idea, because it's been all the rage the past month and a half. Or 2 months, I guess, because there are 8 episodes. So basically, Zendaya plays Rue Bennett, who is a 17-year-old mentally ill addict in high school. She is 17, 18 years old, 17, I believe, at the beginning of the show. And she struggles with addiction to narcotics. And we enter on her senior year of high school, or the end of the summer before her senior year of high school, and she had just come back from rehab and decided to relapse pretty much. And the story goes from there, and it gets crazy. She meets Jules, who is a trans girl who had just moved from the city into the suburbs, and is, adjusting to small town life for the first time. And we have, who else are the main characters? So Jules and Rue are my favorite women in the entire world, and I will protect them with my life. And then we have the rest of the women whose names are Kat, who became a cam girl at the beginning of the season, Maddie, who is a bitch, but like for good reason, Cassie, who is the sweetest thing ever, her sister Lexi, who my favorite thing about her is her ability to go to Halloween parties dressed as Bob Ross. And then we have, those are the women. I believe that's all of them. Maddie, Cassie, Lexi, Kat, Jules, and Rue. I think there are only 6. Which is cool because, like, most of the cast is women and women of color, and, the diversity jumped out, I guess is what the kids say. It's a really diverse show when it comes to both gender and sexuality, as well as race, too, which is super great. And then for the guys, we have McKay, who's, like, a 5'5" football player, and Nate Jacobs, who is a piece of actual garbage. The plot of Euphoria, if you'll humor me real quick, is they all are going through their own shit, basically. It's basically to show high school struggles, but like in a very exaggerated way while still making it relatable and realistic, which I really enjoy because a lot of shows fail to do both. A lot of shows instead either do one or the other. But this one somehow managed to make a show completely believable and relatable while also making it 100,000% unrealistic when it comes to beauty standards and like the situations they're in. It's a little outlandish, but at the same time, the struggles that they're dealing with are very human and very relatable. I'm not going to spoil any of their struggles besides Ruse, because Rue is the main character, and you learn that the first 2 minutes of the episode. That's not a spoiler. But they each have their own storylines, which I also like. They're all very well-rounded characters. And there's also Fez. Fez is Rue's dealer, but also the one man in the show that I would protect with my life. Like, I would die for Fez. He is a high school dropout, drug dealer, trying to pay for his house and for his grandmother's medical bills. So, like, he does what he has to do. And I really hope he gets his own episode. So why I wanted to talk about the show is because a lot of shows lately have failed me in grasping my attention for more than a few episodes. The last show that I completely watched the whole thing, not skipping any episodes, not, like, anything like that. I haven't binge-watched anything in a long time. The last show that really got me like this was Shameless, which, for those of you who weren't there for that phase of my life, Shameless was huge for me. I started watching that, 3 years ago, when it was a good show, and watched it the entire way through up until just last season. I stopped watching it after Mickey's episode. But that's not the point. We could talk about Shameless another time if you want me to, because I have a lot to say about that show. But Euphoria is very close to my heart. Maybe because of all the women involved in both production and acting in it. But, also because I relate to Rue so much, and, to have that mental illness representation. She is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She, has problems with addiction. And, hashtag been there. So it's a really realistic show in that way, in a way that, you can bond with these characters and, get attached to them, which, healthy to an extent. It's fine to have a mild obsession with a TV show. It happens. It's fine. However, when I hyperfixate on something, I hyperfixate on something. But what we're going to talk about relating to Euphoria is the ability that the show has to make you feel very normal, I guess. Because all these women are going through it. For lack of a better explanation, these girls have some real life issues. Either they're struggling with addiction like Rue is, or their bodies like Kat is, because Kat is overweight, or they're struggling with their femininity, or their ability to embrace their bodies, or, their boyfriends and how shitty they can be. But it's all very interesting and diverse to watch, and I feel like TV needs more of that. We need more unapologetic women in TV, I think. I think we need more, just a better pool to pick from, more than anything. We need, these girls, they're not all, likable characters at first. But you learn more about them and you realize that no one's really good or bad. The show has a main villain. We're not going to talk about that. But the show, all these women, they don't despise each other in any way, which is awesome. Because it took me a while to, not a while, but it took me a few minutes to grasp that plot point, that none of these girls hate each other. They're mean to each other, but they don't, it's not like they're cliques, off the bat, these girls are mean, we don't root for them, and these girls are good, we root for them. There are ones you want to root for more than others. There are more likable characters, as in every show, but, you realize that no one's really evil. in that way. There is an evil character. We're not gonna, like, again, this is exaggerated, but if you've seen the show, you know who I'm talking about. But the women are not to blame here, is basically my point. And I don't know if they did that on purpose. Whatever they did, I'm glad they did it. It's a show for women, by women. You know? Which is nice. And I wish I had, like, a better explanation. But there's only been one season. But to get hooked on something that quickly is kind of awesome, because it's really difficult for me to draw inspiration from anything anymore, and seeing the show has really revived me in a few ways, and has made me feel very content with myself, and just kind of happy. It's given me something to do for the end of summer, and I don't know, it's just been a really nice change of pace to have a show that makes me happy and something I can look forward to every week, and then can rewatch without getting bored or, can miss things. The cinematography and the music in it are both beautiful, by the way. So if you like the ambiance in certain shows, like if you watch shows for that reason, like camera work and music choice and coloring and just things like that in general, I highly recommend the show. It's insane when it comes to stuff like that. Super visually pleasing. And what is the visual and auditorial? It's also nice for ears, is what I meant by that. I'm so stupid. I'm trying not to sound like an idiot and go in circles like I do every time. But it's really hard when you don't script podcasts to continue talking about the same subject for like an hour. So that's why my podcasts are so short comparatively. Most podcast episodes are about an hour long. Mine is usually 25 minutes. Because there's only so much I can say about a TV show without spoiling it. Like, I could discuss this entire plot. Which, like, if you want me to, I will. But, like, I'm not going to do that today. Because the show is fairly new. And I think that's kind of fucked up to just talk about it. Like, Stranger Things is different. We are 3 seasons into Stranger Things. If you haven't seen Stranger Things by now, that's on you. We could talk about Stranger Things. I'm not going to do that. I already did that. So basically that was my spiel on why you should watch the show. I know HBO is kind of not the first platform people go to for streaming. But you can get it on Hulu if you try a free HBO trial, I think. But if you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend watching it. Especially if you need something new. It is severely triggering in some places, though. Which, I mean, it's not that I would have appreciated a warning. I mean, we all would, I think. But, like, I didn't expect certain things to hurt me the way they did. But it's a very emotional show. It's a very feelings-driven show. Based on, the way people feel about each other, trauma and their experiences there. Like, the main point is addiction. So, that right there should be a clue that it's not going to be an easy breezy, beautiful TV show to watch. But, some of the things are very specific and only trigger specific people. I was talking to Sienna about it, and she had her own gripes about what was freaking her out. And, like, it's that type of relatable. It's the relatable where your trauma is not foreign, and you feel very normal, but also really shitty for a little bit. Which, like, isn't inherently a bad thing, I don't think, to, like, be uneasy watching a TV show. Like, shows that get you talking and make you uncomfortable, I think, are shows that are the most well-written and the most well done. Shows don't have to be clean or burying things that are hard to talk about, sweeping things under the rug. I feel like this show did a really good job of both being sensitive towards people who are dealing with this type of thing and also making it normal enough to put it in the show and talk about it, and, like, without sort of blowing up and being like, oh, this person is trans. Like, they don't have to say, oh, Jules is trans, by the way. Like, that's just known from the beginning. Like, it's a normal thing. You don't need to, like, she doesn't need to come out in the show. None of us need to know her. I mean, it would be awesome to know her coming out story and her backstory. And she got she got an episode. She got some spotlight on that, and I really enjoyed that. Super triggering episode for people who have experienced self-harm, but it'd be like that. To, like, for lack of a better explanation, it'd be like that. Which is fine. Again, very sudden. Made me a little uncomfy, but it happens. Overall, though, good fucking show. Wish more shows would be a little more unapologetic with their storylines. I also really like the mystery aspect of it. There's a lot of questions that I have about the finale, and I'm really excited for the next season. It left it open-ended and completely on a cliffhanger, which a lot of series are scared to do because everything gets fucking canceled. Which, like, I could go into detail about all the shows that I love that got fucking canceled for no reason, but we're not going to do that because I'm here to talk about a show that's not canceled. Overall, though, highly recommend Euphoria if you haven't seen it, whether you're a girl, a boy, a man, a woman, neither, in the middle, outside the spectrum, the binary, whoever you are. I feel like the show is vital. If you are a millennial or Gen Z especially. I talked to my dad about it. I was like, hey, you have HBO. Have you seen the ads for Euphoria? He goes, yeah, but I'm not going to watch it. And I go, why not? Because, like, me being in the middle of Gen Z and millennial, I guess, I really genuinely don't know what generation I belong to. I was like, why? It's for everybody. And he goes, no, I'm almost 50. And I go, yeah, you're right. You could probably relate to some of it because parents were children once, but currently in your current life, also not a show to watch with your parents. Like, unless you're, like, wicked cool with your parents, like, too cool with your parents, which, like, I could watch this with my mom, no issue. But don't watch it with your parents if you have a normal relationship with your parents. But, that was my big thing, basically, is me talking in circles about Euphoria. That's all I got for this week. I'm going to be honest with you, it's a very short podcast, probably because my brain isn't working the same way it used to. I'm in a very weird spot right now. I'm good. It's a good weird. For the longest time, I have been dwelling on someone that doesn't really care about me the same way I care about them. Doesn't talk to me anymore, which is, like, a bummer, but, like, not a loss. I think is what I'm realizing. It's not a big deal for me to not be talking to this person anymore because my life has been a little bit better. Which is maybe a shitty thing to say, but they don't listen to my podcast. They don't talk to me. There's no way. Anyway, I'm going to get going, but first I'm going to shouts out my spons. My spons? I don't got a spons. I'm going to shouts out my patrons because without y'all, this shitty podcast would not exist. Which, like, I like that this is a thing. It still has a lot of work to be done on it. And again, I really appreciate everyone's patience. And, like, whoever listens to this, if you got nothing else to do, you know, I appreciate you. And I know you know that. So my sponsors, I keep saying sponsors. They're not sponsors. They're patrons. My patrons are Haley Park, IDK, LOLZ, Willow's mom. Willow's mom's birthday is tomorrow, by the way. Let's all say happy birthday, Christine. Happy birthday, Christine. Thank you. I appreciate that. Taylor Marshall, Caitlin St. Louis, Sophia, Tina, Shelby Church, Emily Buchanan, Amanda Satterfield, Kat, Holly Rapkin, Mary Cabral, Molly, and Gina. Thank you all very, very much for patronizing me in a good way, with money instead of with insults, and with, you know, your support. And I really appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast, whether or not they're able to donate or pledge. Anybody who, you know, takes their time to listen to this and even has a little bit to say about anything I have to say or likes anything that I have to say, it's a nice feeling, and it's good to be validated for your stupid need to talk to air for an hour. Or in my case, 20 minutes. Um, so I'm gonna go. It's my mom's birthday dinner tonight. We're gonna eat some chicken. Hopefully, I will be back on time next week. And I will see you then. Thank you for listening.